So the solar flares that we've been getting are actually bringing out different types of imbalances in the mind, the body, and the soul. And so for a lot of us right now, we're discovering the parts of ourselves that are wounded, and it is something that is usually distinctly pointed out to us by triggers. This could be things happening in your life, and this could be your relationships. So, men who are more masculine dominant, men who in their unconscious, resting, not really mindful selves, kind of just exist in their masculine energy. These are men who do not intentionally shift themselves into feminine energy, men who may not understand those principles and understand which activities are going to accentuate the feminine energy within them and which activities accentuate the masculine energy within them. So this imbalance that we're seeing has a lot to do with the currency within men. It has increased substantially. So with the solar flares, that is a masculine consciousness energy, and they're getting these upgrades. And when you get upgrades, any karma that you created from your patterns starts to get purged. It's a detox, and you're going to have a healing crisis. You're going to have a Herxheimer reaction to this emotional karmic detox. And so, for so many men who fell into society's beliefs through the patriarchy, a lot of them are now experiencing the karmic energy of what their actions and their thoughts created. And so a lot of men are very uncomfortable right now because they're being challenged to grow. The worst thing that a woman could do in a relationship with a man who is being challenged to grow and initiate into his divine masculine, divine feminine energy is try to fix everything. Try to fix everything for him, with him, around him, in your life, just trying to be the fixer, trying to be the savior, because what you're doing is you're reversing the poles. Now, I know a lot of women would say, well, I feel like I have to jump in because if I don't, how is it going to get solved? I feel you. And that's a challenge. And that's what spirituality is for, so that you increase your intuition and you're able to make those decisions, because those decisions require the wisdom of feminine energy. Okay? This is why I work with goddesses and I practice goddess embodiment, and being able to receive consciousness that is beyond my human woman perspective allows me to show up in a different way. So not only is the masculine being purged, but the feminine is now radiating this stronger magnetic feminine energy, which creates cravings in a masculine who is not grounded, who is not balanced. And so he will have this extreme longing that he feel comes up sometimes, but he also has issues in his life that have been reenactments of trauma from his childhood, and they keep showing up in these situations in his life, and he may not know how to deal with it. And so unintentionally seeking some type of external source of soothing his nervous system, he may look to the feminine outside of him because he's not working with embodiment with the feminine inside of him. And so if a man is not tapping into that, he's not tapping into wholeness, because wholeness requires us to be self-aware enough to move through both polarities of energies. So this is Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness cannot happen unless you have both masculine and feminine energy that you are consciously operating with. Now, with that being said, a lot of masculines right now, because of whatever karma that they created, and that word that I'm using in this context is the domino effect of certain ways of thinking and certain things that may be decisions that they made. So it sometimes take years. Sometimes these things come back around to us in cycles. So it could have been what he did 9 years ago, 13 years ago. And so that lesson is circulating back around because the purpose is to challenge him to grow into a better version of himself. And you can't become more resilient unless you're tested by something. So a lot of women who were codependent, the astrology is set up now where codependency is being purged on a collective scale, because the planetary astrological planetary energies are coming in to help us to break free of that. And it is a very dangerous thing being codependent, because it is the reason that our bodies are turning against us, because we're always looking out for other people and not ourselves. So that's one danger to that, is that you develop sickness from doing this. And this is why over 80% of autoimmune diseases is in women. So women are receivers of energy, and we're also reservoirs. We have wombs, so we hold and carry energy. And many of us may be carrying energy from wombs from women in multiple generations. Unless you are working through that, that energy is going to show up in your life, and that energy will also create the dynamics, the patterns that you reenact if you are in a relationship or just in any part of your life. So, with all of these things occurring, look at it like this: the battery power that the souls are receiving from the solar flares is such high voltage that it requires you to have certain routines that you do every single day to keep you grounded, so that you can properly transmit that energy. Otherwise, you end up using all of that energy in negative ways. So if you thought about something negative in your mind for 5 minutes in the past, and that 5 minutes didn't really create anything negative in your life, it's not like that anymore. The mind is electric, and the voltage is increasing. So if you spend 5 minutes harboring on something negative now, you will feel an immediate effect, and something will happen in your life that's going to mirror that negative thought that you nurtured and that you did not deal with properly. Okay, so that's electrical energy, mental, mind. So everything that we see happening with mental health has been an attack on the mind, electrical energy, attack on masculine energy. So for a lot of women, our physical bodies will no longer allow us to do things that are going to be harmful to us and cause us to create karma. So we're having to be more outspoken, assertive, be more brazen, be more bold, transparent, honest, and just shoot straight from the heart, no matter what it may look like or sound like. And know that the most important thing is that we're speaking from a place of authenticity, so that we're not creating a domino effect that's created by fear. Because anytime you don't speak what you authentically feel, fear is the emotion that's driving that. So the words that you speak in that moment will be empowered substantially by the energy, the emotion that you're feeling. And now speaking those words for the feminine now creates a bigger impact than it ever did before. This is the reason that a lot of feminines, and if you're not, hopefully getting this message is going to start for you, but we're being challenged in these areas. Yeah. And self care is a sacred rebellion for the feminine, but it can also be for the males. This is another way that they can heal their feminine energy through self care practices. And so, as these things are happening, a lot of relationships that are being challenged right now is not necessarily because it needs to be the end of the relationship. It's just the end of a dynamic, it's the end of a system, it's the end of a blueprint, it's the end of a template that no longer works for us. And so, in order for us to move into the new earth energy, where there's a frequency of love that is the reason that we make decisions that we make, in order to move into that, we have to both be healing our masculine and feminine within ourselves. Without doing that, our relationships will struggle and continue to be struggle. It is important that both people are using personal development, self mastery, and tapping into spirituality to heal the fragmented parts of us. The shit that happened to us as children that we didn't heal, that shit shattered our souls. That's how deep that pain was. And when you're getting all of this voltage, but you don't know how to direct the energy, okay, you must be an alchemist, right? You're going to be hurting people and hurting yourself whenever you drop below the veil of consciousness and become semi-aware or not aware. So it's more dangerous now than ever to not have self-awareness and self-control.